Guys, today I'm going to talk to you about jargon or gibberish. It's a really good thing. It's when a child starts mimicking adult conversation, and it starts around 10 to 12 months, right before they start talking, and it continues even as they start developing real words up until 24 months. It can happen past the age of 2, that's not a bad thing, but what we want to make sure is that it's not happening the majority of the time. So a good guideline we like to go by, and it's not one that I made up, it's one that's used frequently by other therapists, is by 2 years old, a child should be understood 50% of the time. By 3, they should be understood 75% of the time. And by the age of 4, they should be understood 100% of the time. That doesn't mean that they're not making mistakes. I mean, they're definitely going to make mistakes as they are learning language, but it just means that they are understood by unfamiliar listeners. It's not just you that's understanding what your child is saying, even if they're not saying it correct. So if your child is 2 and you feel like they're predominantly using jargon and you don't really hear any real words on a consistent basis, then I would recommend getting an evaluation done, which is completely free here at Reach Behavior and Development. And sometimes when a child's speech and language development is a little bit delayed, you're going to see them starting to jargon a little later. And that's okay too. So because they're developing the typical sequence of language development, but just at a later time. So that's okay too. I wouldn't worry too much about that. So if your child is in therapy, you might see jargon come a little later, and that's a good thing. And if there's a word mixed in with a jargon, or a couple of words, repeat back the real word to your child. So if your child is saying jargon, blah, 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 water, jargon, then you would say, water, you want water. And if your child is jargoning and you're not catching any real words in there, then I would recommend that you try to figure out what it is that they want and then give them 1 to 2 words. 1 to 2 words, or even a simple sentence if you think that they can handle that, if they can say it back to you. So if the child is saying jargon, and you notice that they're kind of reaching for the water, you would say, oh, water, you want water. Good, water. Also, some babies just skip to word approximation. So some babies go straight from babbling to word approximation. So they would start to babble, and then they'd go ba for ball, or da for dog. So that's okay too.